Okay, folks, you're probably thinking and wondering and asking the question, and I know you're thinking and wondering and asking the question, as many people have been asking the question all over the world, where in the world did this guy get his education? That he can apply all of these sciences and social things and just make them work. Well, where else but the county juvenile court system for abandoned children, with all its wonderful facilities of boys and girls homes, orphanages, work ranches, juvenile court facilities, camps, and with all the wonderful staff they have. They're all devoted believers, you know, guardians of the public trust, all passed the test by, you know, highly trained professionals, believers all. But the problem was not that they, you know, they didn't want to do that, but everybody believed in something different. The people, they had different agendas. There was social agendas, there was political agendas, disciplinary, militaristic agendas, there was religious agendas, there was schizoid and psychopathic agendas, there was child molester agendas, and see, they were all true believers in what they were doing, and some of them really were true believers. And what had happened, but they all came together, and they had one thing in common, that they were all trying to beat something into you, or beat something out of you, or just beat little kids for the sheer joy what it gave some to beat little children. And it seemed once this belief system set in, it sort of overrode all kinds of, you know, any kind of a personal conscience, any kind of a tolerance for anybody, and, you know, any kind of social contract. You just sort of, you listen to the voices that went on in your head. And when you had authority and behind closed doors, some of these people really got, you know, if you weren't believing the same way they were, whatever that was, and the consistency changed, you know, as the voices in their head, you know, it really got bad. And I often wondered if I even asked them, why'd you do that? You know, an innocent kid comes in and you know, here's these guys, everybody's punishing them, beating them, and the kid doesn't know anything. And if they could just stand out of themselves and think of what they were doing, they would see what a bunch of sickos they were. But it soon became evident that this particular model of Homo sapiens was sort of a half-baked species. And what happened to the kids is they turned into the same kind of the guardians of the public trust, and soon an innocent kid come in, you know, and he was, you know, confused, and pretty soon he started fighting and hating, and he didn't, you know, no tolerance for anybody. And it seemed this was the fruits of these true believers. And if you didn't want to be turned into one of these things, you was going to have to do something real fast, you know, evolve into a higher life form species. And so you started recording everything that was going on for about age 5. Everything. And then even the things that were in your mind, just not the things that were going on in these institutions for near 19 years. And and all kinds of mathematical things were going on, and I didn't know what they were. I was just doing all kinds of calculations in math and stuff, and I was calculating motion and forces, and trying to, and I was looking at the stars, and what later became, you know, I learned about the planets, and I could calculate the, you know, the forces that were around them, trajectory and stuff like that at a very early age. And I could understand when they would go through your papers at these boys in these homes, you know, you didn't have any privacy, that the things that, you know, the first treatises that showed the sicknesses that were, well, they'd find those things and they'd tear them up, and then they'd, you know, the straps would come out. But I never could understand the drawings and stuff and the little gadgets you use to prove your ideas and your theories, why they would tear those, just drawings of a kid, why they would tear those up and burn them, and then they'd, you know, you'd get strapped for it. But you know, it was very confusing, but I kept doing it because I just felt I had to, you know. And the public school system was equally as worse. You know, if they found out you were from the, you know, a ward of the court, most of them was that way. But years down the line, I met some kids And they went to their parents and they said, you got to do something. Help this kid. Because he's the smartest human we've ever seen. And he's got stuff in his going on in his mind. And so their parents would provide, they said when you get out of high school, they had scholarships provided to go to any university, full paid things. Well, I didn't know anything about that. But eventually I sort of got a standing invitation. It was in a city where they had a lot of space scientists. And I got an invitation. I was over there all the time. We'd talk about, I'd explain to them the evolving, devolving, and degrading laws of physics and motion and time. And then a lot of new principles of optics and light. And then even some university professors wanted me in their class. But in the last year of high school, the high school counselor gal, she says it's unheard of. You know, he hasn't even got a high school education. How can he attend college? And he hasn't all those prerequisites. We don't even have any record of him attending school very much. And besides, he's a ward of the juvenile courts. And so, you know, so that was the end of that. They tried 3 times, but then, so that was just the end of that. And so I just wrote my last treatise as I left the institution, you know, A Mind Still Free.